Alright, so before you can race these on the track, you need two things. You need the wheels and you need eyelets underneath. These eyelets sit in the middle, and on the track the cable goes through the eyelets and it keeps it lined up on the track so that it doesn't fly off and injure someone and smash your car. So first thing, we'll put the eyelets on. The eyelets go in the middle, one at the front and one at the back. Actually no, we'll put them on second. Yeah, it might be better. Yeah, no, we'll put them on now. And it doesn't really matter where at the front and the back. If they're too close together, the car pivots around those points, so you want to spread them out. One around where the front axle is, one around where the rear axle is. If your car's not flat on the bottom, sometimes there's a little bit of jiggling around to get them in the right position, because you want them to be the same height off the ground, not the same distance from the bottom of your car. And it's a really straightforward process. Okay, you figure out where you want them to go. Looking at where your axle hole is, okay, you don't want to screw it into your axle hole because that's going to bind up your axle and your car's not going to go anywhere. So I'd shift it either a little bit behind or a little bit in front of where your axle hole is. You'll need a ruler because we're going to place it in the middle of your car. So you get a ruler, place it up against one edge. That's 40 millimeters. So where's the middle? Half of 40. What's half of 40?
30.
Half of 40? 20. Okay, so you don't have to mark it with a pencil. This thing's called a scribe. So you just put the scribe in the middle and then push down and it'll create a little hole there. Okay, that's normally enough to capture this one. Okay, so this is an eye screw. It tapers to a point and it's called self-tapping. So it kind of creates its own hole as you screw it in. Then you'll need to take it and hold it quite firmly. Put it up against your hole and then you're going to push it into the car and turn it slowly. And usually if you turn it about a quarter or half a turn, it should grab enough to stay on there. Then it's just a matter of turning it, and once it's in like a turn or two, okay, then you can start to just screw it in. You don't have to actually push it in towards the car. You will get to a point where it's going to be difficult to turn, so you can grab some pliers, hold them, and then just screw it in. Or screw it in. Or you can get something long like a drill bit. You can put it in and turn it around as well. Okay, that'll also screw it in. And then you're going to repeat the same thing on the back. Put the ruler on halfway between here and here. Get your scribe. Make a little divot, a little hole, and then screw the other one in. You don't have to screw them all the way in at this point because you may have to adjust it depending on where the wheels go. So for the wheels, there's the rear wheels, which are these large ones, and then the front wheels, which are the skinnier ones. Now it's up to you. We do have plenty of wheels. So if you want to have large ones on the front and back, which this design had when I made it, so I'm going to go with that. You'll notice with the rear wheels, that hub in the middle, it actually sticks out further on one side than the other. Okay, so if I put this ruler up against it, you can see there's a slight gap between the ruler and the tyre rim, whereas this side there is not. Okay, the side that sticks out is the side that goes up against the car. That way, generally, the sides of the car are flat, and when that sits up against it, it's holding the rim slightly away from the car, which means there's no friction there. We're going to use a hot glue gun. That's going to hold the wheels in place. Now, some of these hot glue guns are a bit dodgy. They don't heat up properly. Some of them, the glue sticks get a bit jammed. So plug in your hot glue stick and a glue gun and make sure it's make sure there's glue coming out. Has everyone used hot glue guns before?
I
2, 3, 4, okay. I'll just point out, and I'll go through and just observe when you're using it. It gets hot, so the tip gets very hot, but the heat starts to come down to this whole area here. You can see this glue melted all over it. And hot glue is hot liquid, so when it gets onto your skin, it actually sticks to your skin and continues to burn until it cools down. So it can be quite painful, so just be aware of that. Some of them also drip a bit. And some of them have a stand so you can put it on. But yeah, enough about that. So the first thing you need to do is to get your axles and wheels. Now these are the axles, and there's a whole box of these, which is probably, I think, just enough for my 2 classes. Okay, so you are not to come up and just grab your axles out of here. Come up to me and say, can I have an axle? And I'll give you an axle. And you see they're nice and straight. They're actually quite flexible as well, which can be problematic. So the first thing I'm going to do is for the front and the back, I'm going to take one of the wheels, make sure that I've got the hub with the longer hub section on this side, and then I'm going to push the axle in. When you're pushing the axle in, they can be a little bit tricky to get in. Okay, you might need to force it in. If you are going to force it in, make sure you're pushing from this section here. Okay, if I push it like that, okay, it's going to go in. So often, and this will not be a me problem, okay, you will not get another axle. This one here, you can see it's bent. What happens is, students will put it in, they'll go, oh, it's not going in, I have to force it, and then they hold it up here and they push it and it bends. Okay, if that happens to your axle, you're going to have to straighten it as best you can and then try again. Okay, you must hold it down here. Okay, if you're really struggling, you can place it on a surface. Okay, so put it down like that, get a pair of pliers and hold it down here. Okay, and then try to push it in. It helps if it started a little bit. Okay, you can line it up, use the pliers and push it in. Okay, but you must apply force down around here. Okay, that way it's very, very unlikely to bend. But if you do bend it, straighten up your axle, try again. Because we don't have enough axles. Well, when we buy the sets, we get given a pair of axles per set. Once you've got your axle in, push it all the way through so that you can just see the axle there. You don't actually want it flush with this side here. You want to back a little bit. Then you're going to get the hot glue gun and just put a little dab of hot glue on the end there. Okay, so there's just a little bit of hot glue there holding it on. And then do the same thing with the rear. While that one dries, I'll push it through, hot glue, and now it's actually a little easier when you put the other side on your car. So once the glue's dry, I'm going to feed the axle through, and you'll notice there's a long bit here. You're going to have to hold the axle there. If I just place that on the workbench like this and push down, it's likely to push the axle all the way out here. So either hold the axle there or get a little block of wood or something that's slightly smaller than the inside of the rim there and sit it on that. You're going to take your other wheel, and again with the large hub side that's protruding a little bit, place that over, and you're going to have to do the same thing again. Okay, holding it as close as you can to the wheel, you're going to push it on and slide it down, and then slide it all the way up to your car. Now if I spin this, okay, it doesn't spin very well at all. Okay, so I'm going to pull that out just a little bit, test it again, and you want to make sure that your wheels are spinning freely. Once you've done that, you can get some pincers, slide it down up to where the axle finishes on the hub, snip it off, and then again with the hot glue, just a blob of hot glue on there. Okay, so you need to make sure that the wheels are spinning freely. If they're not, it's probably because they're clamped up against your vehicle and that's just giving it too much friction. So then you get your other wheel, slide it on. Wheels aren't a problem if you destroy your wheels, that's fine, we've got thousands of wheels. So again, goes through, holding it up close to the end of the axle, slide it on. Okay, and I'm making it look easy. These ones seem to be working quite well. And so I'm squeezing it like this, okay, I'm applying force like this, which is okay, but if I do it without holding this section here, it's going to bend the axle and kink it. Okay, so you want to make sure everything goes in line. All the way, and open it up. Pincers. Hot glue. Alright, once you've done that, if you take your car over to that bandsaw there, it's got a steel plate, or you can usually do it on your bench, but that's nice and flat. You need to make sure that when you move your car like this, there's no scratchy noise. Okay, I know some of you, when you made your pencil boxes, I'd run it on the table, on the metal, and you could hear the nails scratching on it. Okay, you want to make sure that can you see the eyelet there? Okay, you want to make sure that the distance between the eyelet and the ground is the same on the front and the back, or approximately. So if you put it down on a table and look at it under here, just to make sure that the front and the rear eyelets are about the same height from the bottom of from the ground. If they're not, okay, so if they're different heights, okay, so if you've got one up here and one down here, when the string goes through, it has to go up into this one, down into that one, and then back to the hook on the other side of the track, and that's going to apply friction. And I have had some vehicles in the past where that tension in the string, because of the eyelet offset, was enough to stop their car. Okay? It just wouldn't even move. Does anyone have any questions?
No.